right, everybody, welcome back. I'm Matt Monty. I'm joined by Devin O'Donnell here on the NRG series. We're getting ready to kick off the finals of our Pioneer event. Devin just mentioned it's the number 7 versus the number 8 seed. How often do you see that?
Not very often. These are, I would say, probably the two, in my opinion, the two most powerful decks in the top 8. So maybe not the most surprising thing to see, but it is very rare to see the 7 versus 8 because, they're on the draw the entire time. And as the 7 seed, you actually get to be in the play, which you don't really expect to when you're going to come in as the 7 seed.
Exactly. To fist pump a little bit. Yeah, I get to be on the play for the finals. This is ridiculous. Who would ever guess that? So we're going to jump right into it. It sounds like players sound like they're waiting on us. So we're going to jump down. We're going to have two pillars of the format now. I'm going to say it. Mono Green Devotion versus Izzet Phoenix, and we are ready to roll.
All right, and as we talked about, Kyle gets to be on the play because he is the 7 seed here. Worth noting, no 1-drop.
Yeah, that's pretty big. I assume Sylvan Caryatid's not too far from now, but there it is. Like
Yeah,
you
there's the
mentioned
Haven.
earlier, yeah, the Haven or the Caryatid. If there's not a 1-drop, it's going to be one of those. So
Yeah, it's very rare. You basically will never keep a hand that doesn't have. If you don't have an elf, you 100% have a 2-mana Accelerant. So, not surprised to see that here from Kyle. One thing I will mention: we saw a list earlier that had at Burning Emissary. This is not that list. This is the 4 Topiary Stomper, though. That's a card that we did see earlier at some point, and that is an interesting one. I'm still a little undecided on it, but it is another way. The nice thing that Topiary Stomper does is it's a ramp spell that also draws you a card with Kiora, so kind of a cool thing. And then if you eventually get the 7 lands, you can start getting in the red zone with that thing.
all right, so you see, Scott's hand is chock full of like impulses and an axe. So those cards are okay. They're not great right now against no mana dorks, but he's got tons of cantrips as well in hand, so looking pretty decent for Scott.
So we got a Kiora and a pass with no land. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So all gas for Kyle here, and the nice thing is with the reason that Wolfville Haven is so good is with Kiora it produces an additional 2 mana essentially because you tap the land for 2, untap it with Kiora, which gives you another 2. So even on 2 lands, Scott still has that, or excuse me, Kyle. I'm going to keep getting that wrong. Kyle still has access to 5 mana here, so you could see a Cavalier of Thorns, which will draw a card off the Kiora, and then potentially fight a Nykthos as well.
Okay. And a couple more cantrips going to Scott's hand. He's probably got to be up to 7 or 8 cards at this point.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I saw a Phoenix in the bins, right?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
So Scott discarding a land here.
And that was
Great
that an Elder Gargaroth?
Yeah, Elder Gargaroth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 1 of in the main deck. Okay. Surprisingly enough, that card's actually pretty good against Phoenix because the removal spells from the Phoenix deck are, Lightning Axe and things of that nature. Lightning Axe doesn't touch a 6/6, so.
All right. Finds a land for Kyle, and Scott's in trouble all of a sudden.
Right. Yep. There's the 5 mana that we talked about to play the Cavalier, draw a card, and then also hit a land off of the Kiora, or excuse me, off of the Cavalier. So really, really good spot here for Kyle. Doesn't quite have the Nykthos, but definitely still has access to a good amount of mana here. And once Kyle finds Nykthos, this game is going to spiral out of control for Scott.
Yep. All right, and Scott going to go ahead and pick up and read Cavalier of Thorns here. And Scott picked up a Arclight Phoenix, but again, he's going to have to find a way to get that into the bin. He does have Lightning Axe, but it feels real bad to have to 2-for-1 this Cavalier of Thorns.
Yeah, and it's actually not even just a 2-for-1 because Kyle can also get back something in the graveyard from the Cavalier. So yeah. I think I see there's a Vivien and Elvish Mystic, a Wolfville Haven, and I can't tell what that 4th card is.
Another Kiora.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, might not even use it. Yeah, because he just, wants to try and find lands, I guess, at this point, like Nykthos and things like that. So doesn't want to put one of those cards on top.
Sure. All right.
So we'll see what Kyle picks up here. Still has grip full of cards. I saw a Karn. I saw a Gargaroth. I think I may have seen a Wolfville Haven potentially. Multiple Karns. And see what else we're working with here. So, Kyle does have access to 6 mana. Okay,
which is a lot of mana.
Essentially break even, right? You use 2 mana for the Haven, but you get a mana back and then an extra mana off the Kiora, so still have access to 6 mana, which is nice.
This is 4.
And potentially a Storm the Festival.
Yep. Yeah, Storm the Festival. Okay. Is that a break? That doesn't look very good. Never mind.
No, that's the opposite of a break.
Never mind.
And that'll take us 5 cards closer to the Nykthos. And as we said before, once we find Nykthos, it's should be pretty smooth sailing here from Kyle. And yep, there it is.
That is quite the combo there.
Yeah, and now we have a reach blocker for Arclight Phoenix. We now have assembled Nykthos plus Kiora in an abundance of devotion. So if Kyle gets to untap with most of his board intact, we might even get to see the combo. I don't think we've seen it yet, the infinite combo that involves multiple cards, multiple Kioras, but we might be able to see that here in the finals.
Yeah, Scott is digging and digging here. Picks up another cantrip, looks like a strategic planning. And Treasure Cruise. I mean, I guess if you're gonna start trying to get back in the game, Treasure Cruise is a good way to do so.
Yep, definitely definitely Scott's best card here. I don't believe he had a second Phoenix, but if Scott did have something like a second Phoenix, you could see both Phoenixes attack the Kiora. Only one could get blocked by the Cavalier of Thorns. That could take out the Kiora, and that would be really important for Scott here, because that Kiora is representing so much mana by untapping the Nykthos. So getting to kill that Kiora could really, really mess with the rest of Kyle's turn here.
Yeah, Kyle's going to have basically infinite mana next turn with this Kiora and this Nykthos activation. And Scott just has Arclight Phoenix. He has not played a land yet for the turn, but his hand is not very good against the board currently.
Right, you see like a lot of those. Looks like another Treasure Cruise.
Draw them all. Who cares?
Really good turn for Scott when you spend 2 mana and draw 6 cards. But as we talked about, it's really just not even going to really compete with what Kyle's doing when he has access to. It's hard for me to count, but somewhere in the nature of 10 million mana.
Yeah, I think that's a good rough estimate if I was counting. And here comes the troll. Oh man.
All right, quick maths here. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9.
10?
So it's 12.
12, yeah.
12 from the Havens, and then untap 12 minus 2, 10 plus 12 is 22.
Checks out.
Okay. Draw a card.
The Gargaroth. There is a Lair of the Hydra. I think this one's basically over.
That is, what that one is?
That's got to be the Topiary, some alternate art of it.
The only reason I know that is because in between breaks, I went to TCG Player and I bought 4 copies. So
no way.
the reason I know that art, so it's the only
crazy
card I didn't have. So
yeah, nerdragegaming.com also sells cards. In case you were wondering, I don't know if you knew that or not. All right, so I'm gonna scoop them all up, and that was a lot of mana, just kind of making him do his thing. And Kyle Gonzales is gonna get up a game, and they're having a good time about it over there. So Scott down a game here. That one went kind of how I think the games usually go, especially if there's no mana dork that gets fiery impulse right away or anything like that. If Kyle has time to set up shop, I think his shop is a little bit bigger than what Scott has to offer.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, we even saw a little bit of stumbling from the devotion side of things, and it really just didn't even matter. You didn't see a 1-drop, but we had the 2 mana mana accelerant with Wolfwillow Haven. And the thing about the Phoenix deck, and I'm gonna keep going back to this, no thing in the ice.
Yeah.
So that is the one card that the Phoenix deck can really have access to. It both puts a massive amount of pressure because it has 7 power, very easy to transform, and it also essentially undoes everything that the devotion deck does. You saw that battlefield that had 5, 6, 7 creatures for the devotion side of things. You think about flipping a thing in the ice, you pick up all of those permanents. It just resets the entire board. So not having access to that is going to be really rough from the Phoenix side of things.
Sure. All right, so let's check out the decks while we have a few minutes while the players shuffle up. So you mentioned Scott Pulera's deck not having thing in the ice. I wonder if it's something where, like, after this tournament, you go back and see like what maybe was good, what wasn't good, and like what matchups are going to be more prevalent, and you try and find space for thing in the ice in the sideboard somewhere later down the line.
Yeah, definitely. Given the performance of Mono Green this weekend, that's going to be something that the Phoenix players are really going to look into. How do we get our thing in the ice somewhere into the 75? It might be more of a sideboard plan where you just want to bring it in this matchup specifically. Because I think Ledger Shredder is a much better game one card, but specifically against the Mono Green deck, I'd much rather be on Thing in the Ice. If we look at the sideboard here for Scott, we're looking at a couple of, or actually, is that only one Aether Gust? Yeah, I think it's one Aether Gust. Potentially
Disdainful
the
Stroke.
Disdainful Stroke to answer the big creatures and planeswalkers. Maybe Alpine Moon to hit Nykthos, but other than that, I'm not a big fan of these Crackling Drakes. I think they're a little too slow. And yeah, that's really it. I'm not really seeing a ton here. Gust, Disdainful Stroke, and potentially Alpine Moon.
Yeah, I don't know. You would know better because you play them on a green deck. I don't know how important those 7 planeswalkers, 8 planeswalkers, excuse me, are to the overall plan. Like, is Pithing Needle consideration in this matchup?
Maybe. We saw this matchup earlier, and we really got to see how important Karn the Great Creator was.
Sure.
At not only the turn you play it, you get to get a piece of disruption like Tormod's Crypt, and then the turn after you get to get the Haymaker like Godpharaoh statue. So Pithing Needle could be potentially really good against that. So I don't hate that.
Yeah, I think that's a card I would almost certainly bring in. You know, sometimes like your Strangles and your Fire Impulses, you have too many of that effect. I know it's great against like a bunch of the Mana Dorks, but again, we saw the Haven and even Sylvan Caryatid, things like that are going to be impossible to to combat. So maybe you have too many of those effects in your deck. But Scott gets to be on the play this game. Maybe your play draw plan pans out a little bit differently as well.
Yeah, that's true. The fact that Scott is on the play means he can potentially dictate the pace of the game, depending on whether or not he has enough removal spells to answer the early mana creatures. And then from the mono green player side of things, we're really going to see whether or not, as we saw that game, what the really important thing was that 2 mana ramp spell, right? It was a
Yep.
ramp spell that didn't die to a fiery impulse. So that's really what you're going to be looking for here in the opening hand is a piece of ramp that is not dying to the traditional interaction from Scott's side.
Sure. All right, let's see if we can get that mono green deck list up here. See how Kyle's deck gets a little bit better post board as well. Again, we have kind of the Karn the Great Creator package is kind of locked in there. I mean, there's not a lot that seems too great against what Scott's up to.
This is we like to call this no changes.
Sure.
This is, I mean, one of those spots where Voracious Hydra, if I knew my opponent had Thing in the Ice, I would like to bring it in. But knowing that there's no Thing in the Ice here, there's not, Ledger Shredder is a fine card, but it's not something I want to bring in Hydra for. It's really only there for specifically Thing in the Ice and obviously the smaller creature decks. But yeah, the rest of the deck is Karn targets. There's an Emrakul the Promised End. I don't think we want access to that.
Right.
And yeah, so the rest of Cyber being Karn targets pretty easy. Just run it back. Deck's
So,
perfect. No
all right.
changes.
All right. So we're running back the same 60. All right. Sounds good to me. Players sound like they might be shuffling up for game number 2 here. Yeah, I'll give them a draw opening sevens. And Kyle up a game. All right. The hand's
Yeah,
not bad for Scott.
yeah. Looks like a couple of cantrips. I think that might be the 1/8 Gust. That's pretty good.
Yeah, quite good. All right, there's a shredder. That's about as good as it's going to get to start off here.
Right, definitely need some early pressure. Scott's going to really look to be casting a lot of cantrips here, and there it is. There's that 2 mana ramp spell that we talked about. So you see that Kyle has a hand again. Didn't deploy a 1-drop on turn 1. Really understanding the matchup and knowing that 1-drop is 99% to die, and really prioritizing the 2 mana ramp, which I really like.
All right, Ledger Shredder beats, and Scott's left with a bunch of counter spells. And there is everybody's favorite plant, the dinosaur.
Is it a plant dinosaur? Oh yeah, this is the Chia Pet, right?
Yeah,
That's what
right.
Norm called it.
That is what he called it. So that one's gonna get ether gusted. Man, it looks so good, that card too. So that one gets sent back. And okay, Scott finds an opt here. That's gonna be pretty good for this Ledger Shredder.
Yeah, so you might see something like an opt along with another, looks like a consider here.
Yeah.
Gonna connive, see if we can find a Phoenix. A Phoenix is going to be really important here. We need to put a little bit more pressure on Kyle. The game is going pretty well for Scott, but he needs to kind of amp up the pressure.
Okay, well that one will do it there. That one he just picked up there. was a Crackling Drake. That one does a lot of damage really quickly in big chunks.
Yeah, so I might have missed. I might have, that might have been an oversight on my part. I thought that maybe the Drakes were going to be a little bit too slow, but with Scott on the play, maybe they're a little bit more reasonable.
All right. Kyle down to 17. There's a treasure
And we
cruise.
see
That's a huge draw.
And we saw a disdainful stroke on the Cavalier, so very good sequencing. Gusting the Topiary Stomper, and then nice disdainful stroke into the Cavalier. That's as good as disdainful stroke is going to get. And the really nice thing about that is the Cavalier has reach, which would normally be able to block all of these flying creatures that Scott has. So that disdainful stroke is massive for Scott.
Yeah, that was a big one, and this has this thing already has 5 power. There is a treasure cruise looming.
Yeah, looks like with leftovers, we got a cruise and impulse. I think that might have been a trespass. And I think maybe another shredder.
All right, well, here comes the goons. There is a Karn. Oh, man. And a Stomper.
Karn and a Stomper.
Stomper does not have reach, though. That's a big deal.
It does not have reach. That is, it also can't attack or block. We need one more land for that.
One more land away, yeah.
But I think this is going to be that very common play that we've seen basically every time the first card comes out against Phoenix, where you just instantly get a Tormod's Crypt to prevent your opponent from casting Treasure Cruise. Now, the really nice thing about this is that Crackling Drake means that we're still going to have a massive amount of pressure even through that Tormod's Crypt.
Yeah, so even if Kyle does, go get that Tormod's Crypt, this Crackling Drake's still massive. So maybe Kyle goes to a different game plan here. He's got that great henge pulled to the front.
Yeah, so you get a bit of a discount on the henge with the Topiary Stomper, so it all kind of depends. I think maybe if Kyle has some leftovers in his hand, some additional creatures, you could potentially see the henge to, kind of pair that with some of his leftover creatures, but he's going to go for the Crypt, which I think I like that. Just being able to stop Scott from casting Treasure Cruises is really important here.
Makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and play it, and that's going to connive. Okay. What are we getting rid of here? Is it the second shredder? I mean,
it kind of feels like
slow, right?
Yeah, it kind of feels like we're a little bit past that. We're gonna go for an impulse. That's fine too. Impulse is a lot worse when you have no graveyards. So
yeah, I was gonna say the thing about that is it grows the Crackling Drake as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. You want to discard a spell so we can get the Drake a little bit bigger.
It's actually...
This is not a bad turn for Scott because we get to go kill the Karn with the Shredder, attack Kyle for 6, and still represent a lethal attack because the 6 puts Kyle to 9 and we have 9 power.
It's actually quite good for Scott because he picked up a Lightning Axe there. So he has Lightning Axe plus Impulse to clear the way for this for these 2 flying creatures. If that's the draw for Kyle.
Yeah, if Kyle picks up something like a Cavalier. Yeah.
Is it quite?
Or is that in a braid? I think it might be in a braid. I think we got a braid axe something.
I think it's a braid axe impulse. Let's see. That looks like a strangle. And this thing just continues to grow. And that's going to connive, put a counter
There's
on
the
that.
axe.
That's 12 points right there, right?
Oh, is there any chance
13?
we just have lethal this turn?
That's 13.
I didn't even thought about that.
We're getting very close.
14, right?
14,
6, 10, 14?
10, 14. Yeah, he's got a strangle in hand.
Yeah, one spell and we're done.
Yeah,
Wow.
This one should be over if Scott sees it.
Unless we got a miscount on the Drake here, but looks like I think we're good.
Yeah, if Scott sees it, this one's over with. 10, 13, 14. Kyle, you're at 15. This is the last point I need.
Yeah, cast this Strangle.
Strangle the Karn? Yeah. All right.
It'll do it.
Scott sees it.
Wow.
All right. Good on Scott.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah, and you got to see the power there of Crackling Drake. Again, we mentioned they're going to have some game plan against your Arclight Phoenix, and if it is Tormod's Crypt, totally fine because Crackling Drake is your insurance policy against whether it's like a Rest in Peace style effect or some way that exile all these spells from your graveyard to Crackling Drake just, one shot your opponent basically out of nowhere in unison with that Ledger Shredder that grew really big that game too.
Yeah, and the really nice thing about Crackling Drake from the matchup is you see a lot of the Izzet deck is spinning its wheels, right? It's casting a lot of cantrips, it's trying to interact with the smaller creatures with things like Fiery Impulse and Strangle, but it doesn't really have a way to kind of get that close out the game, right? It's not really, chip damage with Shredder and Phoenix is not going to cut it against Devotion. So having access to that threat that just you saw that game just literally ended the game in a single attack is really really nice and maybe something that I hadn't really thought about in the post board game, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it looks pretty good there. And again, like, it was kind of a slow start there on the mono green side. Again, no turn one mana dork. Maybe it's by design. Maybe some of those are trimmed. I'm not really sure what has been trimmed or what hasn't been trimmed here. But Scott was able to get that Ledger Shredder in play early, churn through his deck a pretty decent amount. And then, again, Crackling Drake hits the table. And at that point, I think it was even 5 power just right away on turn 4. And that's good enough. A couple shots from that mixed with a few chip shots, and that's going to be good enough to end the game. So I'm interested to see what game 3 looks like, though, on the draw here for Scott.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely a matchup that changes heavily based on play versus draw. So for example, that game we saw the green we saw Kyle on the draw that game and didn't have a one drop. The first play was on turn 2 and was kind of just didn't really get under the Phoenix player, and we were able to just deploy that Crackling Drake and go the distance. But on the play, things get a little bit different, especially if we have a one drop into a 3 drop, and there's no removal spell on the other side of things. That's definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, there's also the very time I believe it's the one of Aether Gust, and Scott managed to have that one come up into his. I believe he drew it like the second turn of the game, so has the Aether Gust for the Cavalier to set his opponent back, and he's going to need an Aether Gust again, I think, in this game, especially on the draw, to be able to keep up.
Yeah, he actually drew the Gust and the Disdainful Stroke,
Yeah,
and kind of had him in sequential on those two perfect sequence turns where he was able to answer a threat, play the Drake, and there really wasn't much left over. You saw the Storm the Festival hit the Karn, but at that point it was too late. There was already a threat in play, and it was kind of just the game just basically just ended right there.
sure. All right, sounds like we're getting ready to roll into our third and final game here, the finals here in Lansing. Again, thanks for joining us this weekend. Devin and I have been having a great time in the second half of the day here, bringing us, the last few rounds as well as the quarterfinals and semifinals. I can't think of like a bad game we've had this weekend so far in Pioneer at least.
No, I can't either. And I think the matchup that we covered, which was Phoenix versus Mono Blue Spirits. I know we had talked about a lot of reasons why we thought the Mono Blue Spirits deck was behind, and that we didn't even consider the fact that our the Ledger Shredder was a card, and
Yeah,
that was really that was something cool to watch.
yeah, that was definitely a beating, and it's really cool. Again, if you're all interested in Pioneer and playing the next Pioneer event, all these deck lists are going to be available on our MTG Melee page for this event. So you can go check them out, make whatever changes you want, run them through some leagues, do whatever you want to do with them. It's really cool that this is 200 plus player event, and it's the first one basically of this size since the banning of Iteration. And like you said, Phoenix is still here.
Right, we're not going anywhere. We're not leaving. Yeah, Phoenix is definitely one of the best decks. And I have to take a look at Scott's exact deck list. I'll pull it up real quick, but I think it's pretty much very similar, if not the same deck list, where you basically just swap straight up expressive iteration for strategic planning. And the cool thing about that is now I'm not gonna say that strategic planning is a better card than iteration. It's definitely not, but it does offer some interesting things where it just puts the other cards into the graveyard, so it helps fuel Arclight Phoenix and as well as Treasure Cruise along with Temporal Trespass.
Okay. Well, it looks like Scott has a turn one impulse two, and Kyle's considering another mulligan. Oh, gonna go ahead and keep 6.
All
If he has
right.
an elf, if he has an elf on one, Scott's gonna be so happy.
Yeah, this is the one game we have an elf. Scott does have the removal
Oh
spell.
yeah, and Scott's got to be thrilled with this start.
Yeah, and this is one of those spots from the green side you'd much rather you'd much rather have the 2 mana ramp spell.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get to do anything on turn one, but that your ramp spell is not dying to that firing impulse, and we do have the turn two shredder. That's really
Wow.
big for Scott.
Turn two shredders, great play. There's the Stomper. I don't know. Like, would you have just like lit the elf on fire there?
Instead of playing the shredder,
Yeah.
it's close. There are, obviously considerations if Kyle has something like an old growth troll or a Kiora, it's really important to get him off three. Those are two of the two of the premier three drops that the green deck has. I guess the Stomper too, but yeah, it's also knowing that Kyle has access to Stomper alongside Kiora and Troll. Maybe it makes more sense to just kill the elf, but it is nice to get the Shredder into play, start pressuring, use your mana more efficiently, which is also really important. So I think I like the Shredder.
I think my decision is like if my opponent's on a mulligan and two of their cards are land elf, I'm almost like, and another one is an elf. I'm inclined to just like light all their mana creatures on fire and hope they don't have a third land. It's a tough
Yeah,
call though.
that's Yeah, exactly. That's fair too. Just kind of make it so, and also notably, we don't see a fiery impulse, or is that an abrade? I think we
It's
have
like
axe
abrade.
abrade, right?
Yeah, it's an abrade and a
Okay.
lightning axe, I believe,
Interesting to not see the abrade fired off here.
and another one. So
I
this is
mean, these things will eventually start attacking, right?
yeah. Eventually, they're going to attack at 4 lands here, halfway there, a little over halfway.
Yeah, as we talked about earlier, Topiary Stomper is not a card that I have personally tried a ton. I've maybe played a couple of Magic Online leagues with it, so I don't have a ton of experience under my belt. It hasn't been the most exciting in my testing, but
I was just going to ask how aggressive we're about to be with these removal spells now.
yeah, so interesting we waited the Abrade, which that's a pretty big tell for
Yeah,
Kyle. He probably has either an Aether Gust or a Disdainful Stroke. Likely Stroke, because we wanted to hold up Disdainful Stroke for something like a Karn or a Cavalier.
Scott attacks and does nothing. Wow. There's a Haven. It's not a land, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, and that one also notably does not die to the Fiery Impulses, all the red removal.
Oof. So this should connive. Yep. Okay. Scott gets it. I mean, hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good there.
That's where you want the Phoenix.
Looks like Scott's going to consider. Got to find Aether Gust here, right?
See, the thing is, I'm not even sure we want to Gust the Kiora. Like, I
Okay.
think we might just let him have Kiora. Yeah.
Sure. That's fine too.
Because you can just save the Gust for maybe another payoff. I mean, I guess the Cure is +2 mana, but Kyle's already on 5. Maybe it prevents him from casting Storm the Festival, but then you could also just Gust the Storm the Festival. So
Scott is very close to being able to Treasure Cruise plus. Yeah, I was gonna say I think I might take this opportunity to axe something to get another connive trigger as well.
yeah, you want to use your mana too, because as you see, Scott's hand has no additional land, so you're kind of a little choked on what you can do. I
Sure.
think I saw a Crackling Drake, a Pieces, a Cruise, and a Planning, I think. Or maybe that's the Stroke.
Gonna get rid of that. Connive. That's a land, but
Yeah, that is the
it's
Stroke.
it's tough. Do you want the land or not here?
Because you're resolving Cruise next turn,
Yeah,
I'm inclined to just discard the land. You can likely find a
yeah.
land off the Cruise.
I'm with you. So that should have. All right. Well, there's your haul. Scott can do a
This is
little
kind of a big
counter.
question here, and maybe a big point of contention. Do we start attacking Vivien, or excuse me, the Kiora? I'm inclined to say no, but I don't know. Maybe you could argue either way.
What do we got here? Oh, does not look very good. A couple crackling drakes. It looks like consider not the best. And that land just comes in tapped as a Spirebluff Canal.
I think I like going after the face here.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like attacking Kiora is just always a losing battle. It says so much loyalty.
If the game goes anything like that last game went, he has a pair of drakes, and like those are enough to end the game. You're gonna have to stroke a Cavalier here, and like I think you just have to not care about the rest of these creatures, and you have to care just about the Cavaliers and the Karn.
Right. Yeah. Cavalier mostly just having reach is so huge in this matchup. Being able to blank shredders and trade for crackling drakes. Also, every time when you trade with the Cavalier, you get something back from Kyle's side. So,
Sure.
yeah, definitely saving that disdainful stroke. Now, the question for Scott's side: do you just jam the Drake, or are you still going to go shields up on that disdainful stroke?
Yeah. Well, if your opponent's going to give you another connive trigger, looks like Kyle's debating deploying another card to the battlefield here.
We saw Kyle peek at the sideboard. What do you think he drew?
Yeah, no kidding. Just looking at my sideboard. Don't look. Don't worry. Nothing going on. Nothing fishy in my hand. Just checking. There
Okay.
is. We the
Ooh.
connive first, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
can I
want to
first?
miss that. It has a lava coil. Okay.
I was I was like strongly thinking about just letting the Karn resolve, but that seems so bad. You probably just want to
That's
go stroke, untap, play the
yeah.
Drake. I mean, I really want to save it for a Cavalier, but not that bad. You have
Yeah.
to cast the stroke
Yeah, I
here.
think it's loose to let the Karn resolve. That seems like just opening up for bad stuff.
Yeah, and using your mana is really nice because now you just get to slam the Drake, and you've already converted your disdainful stroke. So
Sure. I mean, these drakes are going to be huge. They have to be massive at this point.
yeah, we need that D20.
Consider. He has a steam vents. I think he drew for the turn here, so he has the fourth land wrapped up. Yeah, I see it there in the hand. That is Spirebluff Canals. That is.
Yeah, he did have land 4 rolled up, and then we're gonna get a little connive action. We have a second Drake too,
Yeah, I mean, this Drake has to just be like a 10 at this point, maybe even bigger.
at least, right? It's got to be.
Yeah, I think it's right around there. Did he draw
Yeah, as
from
long as
the?
as long as it's a 2-turn clock, that's where you want to be on Scott's side.
Did he draw from the crackling Drake there? I don't think so, right?
No, I think he
That was
just connived.
five.
Yeah,
So we need to get them to draw a card or no?
little pause here
A miss trigger, I guess.
potentially.
Okey doke.
Okay,
All right. Well, I mean, it has 8 power. That's.
it definitely has 8 power. That's the important part.
I think Kyle's actually just on like Cavalier or bust here because Scott's hand is. Well, maybe not. It's got a lava coil. That gets you to
Yeah,
9, 10, 11.
Cavaliers Cavaliers really only Kyle's way to interact with this Drake in a meaningful way, right?
Yeah.
So there's no removal spells. I mean, Voracious Hydra, if Kyle brought that in, potentially could let us kill the Drake. And I think I remember seeing somebody in chat saying they caught a glimpse of one in the previous game. So that might be something that Kyle brought in. Not the best answer because you can't really let the Voracious Hydra survive. The Drake's got a little bit too much power there, but you would get the trade for it.
Well, Scott's in pretty good shape there. Looked like a backup Kiora in hand. So if he might be able to grow this crackling Drake. We'll see what he draws here for the turn.
Yeah, let's see if we can have a repeat of game 2 where we just, fire
Also,
off
Eighth of Dust,
one.
that's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
This one's probably over.
Yeah, I mean, you could even just go Steam Vents untapped, attack for 8, leave back the Shredder, play Drake, hold up Gust,
Sure.
and if Kyle's last card in hand is a blank, and he draws any card he draws, you just fire off the Gust and the game's over. So
Yeah. There goes a lava coil. That's going to grow the Drake up to 9. And that's a swing for 11. So Kyle's down to 3 here.
yeah, same thing. Just basically hold up the Gust.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Like either way, your threat's going to be lethal. It looks like one of your 2 threats are lethal if Kyle finds a way to remove one. Sylvan
Yeah,
Caryatid.
look like a Sylvan Caryatid. I think that'll do it.
Yeah. Man, these crackling drakes were
That
so good. So good in the finals, man. Wow. All right.
Crackling
Well,
Drake.
well, a lot was said about how dead Arclight Phoenix was going into the tournament this weekend, and it just goes ahead and wins the tournament anyways. That's pretty cool. So yeah, great finals match there. Um, you know, those crackling drakes like all day from the sideboard have been really good. A nice, yeah. See, we'll get one look at expressive iteration for the day. So that's it. That's all we get. Gone. Draw a big X through it. So pretty good stuff. I mean, again, I think the deck is very powerful. has a very consistent game plan. You get to churn through your deck so much, see so many cards. It is definitely definitely rewarding to play that. I would say that.